Hi, my name is Kaitlin Jewell. I'm a forensic interviewer here at Hope Haven Children's Advocacy Center. Today I'm just going to briefly walk you through the day in the life of a forensic interviewer and explain a little bit about what we do as forensic interviewers. First and foremost, you do have to go through a training in order to be able to do forensic interviews. I had to go to Jackson, where our state chapter is, and go through a week-long 40-hour training. It's a very intensive training that teaches you the protocols that we use and why we use these protocols in order to talk to children. I have been working at Hope Haven for 2 years, and I have probably done close to around 600 forensic interviews since I have been here in my career. So a day in the life of a forensic interviewer. It's not very easy, obviously. It takes a very special person to do this job, but it's also extremely rewarding. The purpose of a forensic interview is to allow the child to have a safe and friendly environment where they can come and tell their story. So the purpose of having a child forensically interviewed is to allow them to tell their story one time to the forensic interviewer and have a team of other people here, such as Child Protection Services, law enforcement, MDT coordinator, our family advocates, DA's office, mental health, CASA, and anyone else that we feel like needs to be present. They can watch the interview in another room, and that allows the child to give us as much detail as possible about something that may have happened to them so that they don't have to keep repeating it over and over. Repeating a story over and over for a child can be very traumatic. It's already traumatic that they've had to experience the abuse, and talking about it can just make things worse. So the forensic interview allows them that opportunity to get it all out in one place and not have to worry about saying it a million times over and have to relive that trauma. So I'm actually sitting in our forensic interview room right now. We have 2 chairs. Obviously, I would sit here and the child would sit across from me, and this allows me to have eye contact with them to let them know that I am here for them and I'm listening. We have panels on the walls, which are just soundproof panels that allow the child privacy and comfort, knowing that no one can overhear what they're talking about. We do have cameras that are in the room. They're in the corners. And that is what allows our multidisciplinary team members to actually watch the interview live in another room. We do notify the children that they do have other people that are watching, but that it's people that I work with to help make sure they stay safe. We also have a brand new item that we just added to our interview room that we're very excited about. This is our new smart board. It's called a flip. This is going to replace the paper charts that we use with our children, and this gives us an opportunity to take down notes if we need to, allow the child to draw and interact. We also use anatomical drawings when we're talking about body parts that we can put on the board as well. And so I'm just going to turn the screen on and give you guys an example of what a flip chart would look like if I were talking to a child. So typically I start by putting my name up on the board so the child knows who I am. I'll have the child write, or I'll write their name and their age so that they feel like they're participating. We go through family members of who lives in their home. So this would be an example of what that would look like if I were to ask them who lives in their house with them. So when we start doing a forensic interview, I will begin by building what we call rapport with the child. Basically, all that is when I'm talking to the child, in order to get them comfortable with me, to make them feel safe, and to make them feel like I do want to get to know them, know things about their life, I just ask them about anything they want to tell me. So what they like to do in school, what grade are they in, do they play sports, are they in any clubs, what do they like to do when they're not at school, do they hang out with friends, what are some things they like to do with their family members. And I just give them the opportunity to tell me about them, give me a little insight into their life so that they feel like they're getting to know me as well, because they're not going to come in and just tell a complete stranger something horrible that's happened to them. So that gives them that moment to be able to take a breath and calm down and know that I'm someone they can trust to talk to. Once we get through the rapport stage, then we'll transfer into what we call the transition to the topic of concern, which is where we basically get down to the nitty-gritty. So you give them the opportunity to tell you if they know why they're here. A lot of times they do, and so they'll go straight into talking about whatever it is that's going on. Sometimes we have to use other techniques. That's part of our protocol in order to try to help get that child comfortable with talking about something that's happened with them. That's where our smart board would come into play, whether it be they can write down what they're thinking about or what they're talking about, using anatomical drawings for body parts and different things like that. Once we get through the forensic interview, once the child has given me everything that they've wanted to tell me, all the information that they feel like is important, we allow them to go back to our family room, which is basically just a giant toy room that has a TV and a chalkboard and tons of toys for them to play. And then I will go and talk with the members of our multidisciplinary team. And that, at that point, is when we would come up with a plan of action of what happens next. That could include, if law enforcement's involved, what do they need to continue their criminal investigation. With Child Protection Services, that could be what type of family services do we need to put in the home, and that actually goes along with our family advocate, so they can discuss if the child needs mental health services or counseling. Do they need a forensic medical exam to make sure that everything's okay physically? Does the parent need any type of services? Do they need parenting classes? Do they need to take prevention classes? Do they just need somebody that they can vent to walk them through this process? Do they need court appointment? Do they need education? That is at the time whenever we would try to discuss that plan. We always talk about safety, of course. When that child goes home after the forensic interview, who are they going home with? Are they going to be put back into the environment of the perpetrator who hurt them? So it's very important that we maintain that level of trust. Even after the forensic interview is over, you have to maintain that level of confidentiality and that level of trust with the child and with the parent or the caregiver of whomever is going to be taking care of that child, to make sure that even after they leave this building, they still know that we're here to keep them safe. They still know that our priority is the child. Of course, after that, then usually Child Protection Services or law enforcement will take over the investigation at that point. Our family advocate stays involved with the family through to hopefully prosecution. And then we can see that child through to the end to know that they're getting better, that they're recovering, and that we were part of that recovery process. Being a forensic interviewer is very, very rewarding, like I said. This is one of the most difficult jobs that I've ever had to do, but it's also been the most amazing experience that I've ever had. 3 years in November seems like a very long time, but to me it's not long enough. I hope that we can continue to make a difference in the lives of these children, and that they always know, even if they've had a forensic interview, that they can always come back here and talk to somebody, have a voice, have an advocate for somebody that knows what they're going through, that understands their pain, and that can help them get through this process the easiest way that they possibly can. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your time. I hope that you will think about supporting Hope Haven in our efforts, and that you will continue to support us in the community and in all of our events that we hold, whether you be just a volunteer or someone who just wants to come and see what we're about, or a donor. We would really appreciate that. We couldn't do what we do without the efforts and the support of our community, so we really thank you guys.